Ladies and gentlemen, I've got 7 o'clock. I'm going to ahead officially bring our meeting to order. Would you welcome everyone tonight to our city council meeting, May the 22nd, 2023. Ms. City Clerk, would you go ahead and call the roll of the city council?
The Honorable Mayor Pro Tem Linda J. Davis.
Present.
The Honorable James Whitmore.
Present.
The Honorable Pat Pallin.
Present.
The Honorable Hattie Portis Jones.
Present.
The Honorable Alex Heath.
Present.
The Honorable Ulysses J. Smallwood.
Absent.
Absent. Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you so much. At this time, I will ask everyone to please stand. Pastor Darius Cotto of the First Baptist Church of Fairburn, would you please come forward? Render the invocation.
Let us pray. Dear God, thank you for your many blessings to our city of Fairburn, for what you have done, for what you're doing, and for what you're going to continue doing in our city. Lord, I pray for Mayor Avery, for the city council, Lord, for the official, continue giving them wisdom, to continue making the decisions that they need to make, Lord, to continue seeing our city of Fairburn continue to grow, Lord. Thank you for the confidence and for the harmony that you've given each one of these leaders, Lord, to take our city to the next level. Lord, and I thank you for our police department, for our fire department. Lord, I just pray that you continue taking care of them as they put their life on the line to protect us. We love you, we thank you, and we ask you this in your precious name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Members of council, I'm going to ask, would you join me in the bottom here? Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, just going to say thank you again for being here tonight. Every year, the city of Fairburn participates in the Georgia Municipal Association, what is known as the GMA Cities Weeks, to highlight and celebrate the role of the government in providing services to this community. The event encompasses week-long activities to enhance awareness of how government works and encourages citizen involvement in local schools, area businesses, civic clubs, and more. And I'm going to yield to the Assistant City Manager.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. We are excited to recognize Global Impact Academy students for civic engagement and leadership in participating in Civic Night for the Georgia City Week, hosted by our Economic Development Department. Thank you to Global Impact Academy leadership, Principal Dr. Anthony Newbold, and teachers Dr. Andrea Pruitt and Ms. Sherry Bohe, who were instrumental in preparing the students to fully implement this initiative. Social studies teacher Ms. Sherry Bohe led her 9th grade class in conducting a student-led mock city council meeting, live streamed on Wednesday, April 26, incorporating materials including the city budget, departmental roles and responsibilities, and a description of the mayor and city council members' authority. Students worked from a list of action items and deliverables related to the mock city council meeting, which entailed selecting a real-life problem, identifying a program to address the issue, and formulating a policy with funding to implement as a city initiative. The students conducted the immersive learning experience with the knowledge and skills that reflect the excellence in education and leadership of Global Impact Academy. Students commented on this experience that they gained a greater understanding of government functions and a desire for more significant leadership opportunities from this exercise. At this time, I will ask Mayor and Council, as well as Dr. Newbold and Global Impact Academy staff, to join us at the podium as we present each student with a certificate for their participation. First student is Derek Reed. Miss Kennedy Mosley. Preston McCrary. Graceland Carmen Griffith. Olivia Powell. Noel Walker. Emily Nugent. Adunola Abusesin. Pilar Desir. Gabriela Rivera. Peyton Hilton. Ahmad Harris. Jonah Green. Mallory Davenport. Damien. And the last one was Damian Stanley.
And next, again, thank all the students that were here and the ones that couldn't make it tonight. We're so proud of every single person that involved, and parents and business community, everyone that brought this together. I want to personally thank the City of Fairburn staff that played such a major role in helping us to put this together. And with that being said, I'm going to ask Dr. Newbold, would you please come forward, sir? And I'm going to ask the assistant city manager who helps actually work day to day in conjunction with the city manager. You both step up here, please. I'm going to ask you just to read whatever, in this case, sir. I'm gonna have to, because again, this is, and the reason I'm doing that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to make sure that in this case that we don't lose sight that is the staff people that work every day that help us do these programs as it relates to our outreach to our schools. So with that being said, city manager.
The City of Fairburn, in recognition of Global Impact Academy, presents Excellence in Education and Leadership Award to the 2023 Student-Led City Council participants. At least each of the students' names on the plaque by the Honorable Mayor Mario B. Avery, Mayor Pro Tem Linda J. Davis, City Council members Alex Heath, Hattie Portis Jones, Pat Palin, Ulysses Smallwood, and James Whitmore, May 22nd, 2023. Congratulations.
So with that being said, for the students that are here, we'd like to take a photo with, if you could, figure out a way to get us all up here together.
All right, so thank you all for coming out to support us. Our students worked really hard on this project, and if you missed it, it was an amazing, amazing evening with our students sharing their talents. I want to thank Ms. Bowie. She has worked tirelessly after school with her students to ensure that they had all of the information and support they needed to come on up and perform. I also want to thank Dr. Pruitt. Dr. Pruitt has come to us this year, and she has taken the reins and run with it. She is instrumental in helping us get started on achieving our STEM certification. And so that is a very, very detailed, arduous task that's going to take about 3 years or so for us to get there. But she's already just taken off and done an amazing job. This is a tough job that we have working with these students every day, but we love it. And we look for every opportunity to get into the community and truly make a global impact. So we'd like to thank the City of Fairburn for all of their support from day one. City of Fairburn has done whatever they need to do to make sure that we are able to provide this level of education for our students. So we thank you. We look forward to future endeavors. And we will see you all again in the new year. Thank you.
So, just to thank you for everyone. The kids are still talking about how much fun they had, and there are other students that wish they had participated. So it really was an eye-opening kind of event. They were like, there were so many questions, and just getting them ready to speak and present themselves in a professional way at 14. I said that last time, these are 14-year-olds. So giving them that foundation that they need to really be active participants in the government, I think is essential to what I do as a government teacher, but also as a citizen of the United States. So lame, but there we're gonna go, okay? But thank you so much for giving us this opportunity.
I did not prepare anything to say, but I wanted to also thank Ms. Abernathy, who has been extremely helpful in getting all of this together and partnering with our school as well. So thank you, and thank you again, City Council members, Mayor as well. Thank you.
Can I use your pen? Empty the whole room out. All righty, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go to the next item on our agenda. Is the actual adoption of the City Council agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and properly second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. At this time, 30 minutes will be allocated for public comment. Ms. James, is there any speakers? We do not have any speakers at public comment. So we'll now go to the approval of the City Council meeting. You have the City Council minutes for the May 8th, 2023 meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is it?
Second.
Motion is made and properly seconded. Any corrections or comments by council? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Abstain.
You say what now?
I abstain.
Oh, okay. That motion carries. Your next item in this case is the agenda item. Ms. James, you want to go ahead and try first agenda item?
First agenda item is the 2023-2024 cyber liability insurance. It's a request for mayor and council to approve Tanner, Ballou, and Maloof to maintain cyber liability coverage for the city with Crum and Foster, effective May 31st, 2023 to May 1st, 2024, with an annual premium of $25,382, and to execute all documents necessary to bind coverage for the 2023-2024 policy year.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. At the last council meeting, we brought before you approval of our property and liability insurance. We did inform you that we asked for a 30-day extension in order for them to get the quotes for the cybersecurity. So what you have before you is the cybersecurity insurance quote for this policy year in the amount of $25,382.
Members of council, you've had the item read by the city clerk. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments by council? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Next item.
Next item is an ordinance to amend the personnel policy to authorize a paid paternal leave policy. This is a request for mayor and council approval of an ordinance authorizing the amendment of Chapter 2, Administrative Article 3, Division 1, Section 2.57, Personnel Policy to authorize a paid paternal leave policy to provide for severability, to repeal conflicting ordinances, to provide an effective date, and other purposes.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. I stand before you tonight requesting approval to establish a new policy, which is the city's paid parental leave policy. This policy provides employees up to 6 weeks of paid leave time for either the birth of a child, to be able to bond with the child, or for the placement of a foster child or newborn. A couple of things that I do want to indicate is that this leave will run concurrently with FMLA. FMLA is unpaid child protected time. So the fact that the city is providing 6 weeks of paid parental leave allow employees to be able to hold on to their sick leave, in which many of them would not have enough to be able to take that amount of time off to be able to spend time with their child or to be able to bond with their child. With it running concurrently with FMLA, they will get 6 weeks of paid time, and then the other 6 weeks will be unpaid. There is no budgetary impact as it relates to the establishment of this new policy, because we will be paying the employees at their actual salary rate. In addition to that, once an employee leaves the city, there's no accrual as it relates to this leave, so there's no payout provisions as it relates to this leave as well. I open the floor for any questions you may have.
Let me bring the item to the floor. Members of council, you've heard the city clerk read an ordinance to amend personnel policy to authorize paid parental leave policy. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Heath, second by Mayor Pro Tem. Any questions or comments by council?
Yes, Mary, I
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
one question. Thank you for this. My question is, and I don't know if we have this situation or not, but how does this operate if we have both parents who are employees of the city?
Yes, ma'am. Is it both parents that are spouses, are married?
Well, the parent, they're taking the leave for the birth of a child.
Yes.
And so whatever that relationship, they're both parents.
Yes, so there is provisions in the policy to where if they are spouses, the leave is combined. So they don't get to take 6 weeks per
Employee.
employee, yes.
Okay. And so you're using the term spouses, so that's the criteria, they must be married?
No, and so I think maybe your question is, if I have an employee that's not married, may just be dating, have a child, would both employees have the ability to use 6 weeks of paid time? And the answer is yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
And the question, for clarification, I was going to ask, but she's already actually brought it up, that it actually accounts for both the father and the mother.
Yes, sir.
Wanted that actually clear.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions, members of council?
Or significant other?
Yeah.
Yeah, the child,
Well, yeah,
Yes.
I just wanted to hear it.
Yes, sir.
We have in today's society, so.
that was my only question.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, that was my only.
Okay, any other questions, members of council? All in favor, all say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Next item.
The next item is approval of task order number 7 with Atlas Technical Consultants for right-of-way acquisition services on the Duncan Park Secondary Access Road project. It is a request for mayor and council to approve the task order in the amount not to exceed $79,200.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Go ahead, sir.
Evening.
The City of Fairburn entered into a master services agreement with Atlas Technical Consultants on October 10, 2022, with the understanding that task orders associated with construction management and project management services will be approved on an as-needed basis. The design for the Duncan Park Secondary Access Road is about 70% complete. Among other things, the right-of-way acquisition would allow the project to move forward, the plans to be finalized, and the project be put out to bid.
Okay. Members of council, you've heard the clerk read the item for approval of task order number 7 with Atlas Technical Consultants. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made by Mr. Palin, second by Mayor Pro Tem. Any questions or comments by council? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Next item.
Next item is approval of the COVID CDBG agreement with Fulton County for Operation FACT. It is a request for mayor and council approval to execute the COVID Community Development Block Grant Agreement with Fulton County for Operation FACT in an award amount of $215,004.
Okay, sir, go ahead.
On October 12, 2023, Fulton County Board of Commissioners approved the agreement providing the City of Fairburn with $215,004 for Operation FACT. The scope of Operation FACT is to renovate the Fairburn Annex for COVID testing and to purchase the empty lot across the street to convert it to a parking lot. I'm sure everyone is aware of the parking problem we have downtown, so with the completion of this project, we can use the new parking lot to address that problem for perpetuity.
Okay. Members of council, you've heard item read before for the approval of the COVID CDBG agreement with Fulton County Operation FACT. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved.
Mr. Whitmore, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Jones. Any questions or comments by council? Ms. Davis
Yes.
and Mr. Whitmore.
Yes, I think I have a couple. In reference to the parking lot can be used, it's not specifically for this COVID-19, for the COVID,
Operation FACT.
yeah.
That's correct.
Okay, so it can be used in any capacity as a parking lot for the city of Fairburn and any activities that we have.
Correct.
Okay. The other question I have, the block grant, is it designated just for the COVID-19, or is it there for other health situations or health vaccines or anything like that?
This one was specific to COVID-19. Well, a couple of years ago during the pandemic, this one was addressed for the COVID-19. So we didn't use it. We actually won it a couple of years ago. We didn't use it, so now we brought it back. So we're actually in the process of acquiring that empty lot across the street from the annex.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem, what I would add to that is that the improvements to the annex facility that this funding will allow operate in much the same way as your question about the parking lot. The parking lot funding was there for COVID, but can be used for other things. The annex building, as you know, is a multi-purpose facility. So as we make upgrades to that building specifically for COVID, it can also lend itself for other uses, other health applications. And so the funding is specifically for this project. The facility, however, is a multi-purpose facility, and the improvements and upgrades that will result from this $215,000 will benefit all the activities that go on in that space.
Okay, great. One more question. What's the time frame to get started on this?
As I said, the right-of-way acquisition is currently underway. Hopefully we can get that done in the next 30 days. We may have to come back to mayor and council with the acquisition of that lot, but that's bid for a subsequent council meeting.
Okay.
And then the design We just approved the task order for the design of the parking lot as well, so that should be done by mid-July. Everything on the project has to be done by December 31st, 2023.
Okay, so this is signed, sealed, delivered once it's
We've already got it
approved?
on board.
Okay.
We didn't
I
want
just want to make sure,
We
because,
didn't want to bring it back to ratify because we had some time. So this is similar to the one,
okay,
last time we got $311,000, now we're getting $215,000. So this is, what, $500,000 in 2 weeks?
okay. I just want to make sure, because there's some crazy stuff going on in Washington. Just want to make sure we got it.
Oh, no, it's a,
And Mr. Whitmore, before Mr. Whitmore, would you just clarify one statement? I mean, we work in government, but would you just explain right away acquisition? I just want to make sure for folk listening understand exactly what that means.
this is not right away, actually acquiring a property. So,
Just, okay.
right,
Okay,
so.
I apologize. I thought I heard you say right away.
Yeah, so they're doing the acquisition services for us. Atlas is doing that for us as well.
Okay.
So that should be done, when it's private property right now, so we're acquiring that property for our purposes to convert it to a parking lot. So that's currently underway.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
gotcha. Mr. Whitmore?
Thank you, Mayor. Approximately how many parking spaces are we anticipating?
That I don't know until the design is complete.
The design is complete.
Just approved that task order last week, so we don't have any preliminary drawings or anything like that, but we're hoping at least 30.
Okay.
Hoping.
And now my question would be to either the city administrator or the assistant administrator, as we have had conversations about a
Parking deck.
parking deck. Is it your thoughts that we would end up possibly in the future doing the parking deck there that will add multiple parking spaces? Or are we still thinking about the possibility of taking the courts parking lot with the possibility of doing a parking deck?
So I would tell you that the parking lot that we are about to construct in this project could lend itself to a future application for enhanced parking, i.e. a parking deck. But I'll also tell you, in our conversations with Dana Smith, our Buildings and Facilities Director, he has scouted several other locations as well. So we've not made a final determination. It is clearly on our list of parking enhancements that we're looking towards. So is this one possibility? It distinctly is, but it's not the only site where that may take place. And as we move forward with our due diligence, we will narrow down those options to determine which one is most feasible.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
Jones, go ahead.
I have a couple questions. Thank you. The first question is this CDBG allocation, is this for the 2023 allocation to the city? And, okay, what year is this?
This is a previous, so I'm not sure what year, but it's probably like 2022, whenever,
Oh, okay, so it doesn't impact the current year's
no,
allocation, okay?
we have something else coming.
Okay, great. And then my second question is the acquisition of the land for the parking lot.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a separate funding source that comes out of this? That's what this is for.
It's going to be a tight budget, but we're going to try to make it work.
Okay, so this is for the acquisition, the design, and the, what's
Construction.
the word for? what-
Construction.
Yeah, that's it, for the construction. So this amount is for that? Okay.
It's much needed. I mean, that's a strategic location.
No, I
so
understand, I
we
understand.
can use it beyond COVID for our purposes.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about this. But you did say you will be coming back to council. You've already forewarned us.
For the acquisition.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other members of council? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Next item.
Item number 7 is a request from GFL Solid Waste for consumer price index rate increase. This is for mayor and council to consider and approve the request from GFL Solid Waste for a consumer price index rate increase of 10% effective May 1st, 2023 for all sanitation services provided to the city of Fairburn residents.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
The Sanitation Division of the Utility Department want to present to you the same request for GFL Solid Waste Southeast LLC, doing business as GFL Environmental, to consider and approve the request for this consumer price index of 10% effective for May the 1st, 2023. The City of Fairburn has been a customer since February 2009 for residential solid waste collection, recycling, and bulk services. Due to the supply chain constraints and volatile commodity market, input costs for tire manufacturers have risen significantly. Along with that fact, hourly labor costs and diesel retail prices have increased since January 2022. The presentation in your packets and the agenda articulates the inflation and rising costs that have directly impacted the sanitation business. As per the agreement, the service fee will be increased annually every May 1st, beginning on May 1st, 2023, will reflect the annual adjustment based on Table 1 of the Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers, based by the U.S. city average, by expenditure category and commodity, and service group, specifically in the water and sewer and trash collection services category. CPI increase of 10% will increase all services provided to the City of Fairburn residents to the new rate of $14 per unit per month. Staff recommends for Mayor and Council to consider and approve the request for GFL Solid Waste for Consumer Price Index rate increase of 10%, effective May the 1st, 2023, for all residential sanitation services provided to the City of Fairburn.
Member Council, you've heard a request for the GFL Solid Waste for Consumer Price Index rate increase of 10% effective May 1. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is properly made and second by Ms. Davis. Is there any questions by council? Go ahead, Ms. Davis.
Yes. Okay. You have stated that there will be an increase May 1st.
Yes.
Now, will there be increase every year when they compare it to the Consumer Price Index?
Yes, they have the capability to look at that index and then propose to council for increase if necessary.
Okay. Now, the other thing that did we renegotiate with GFL? They are our contracted vendor now? Because I know we had some, okay. I need some clarification.
This is the same existing GFL contract that has been in place for several years.
Okay.
There's no new agreement in place. We have plans about how we will approach our services before the balance of the year.
Okay.
This is not a new contract. This is the one that's been in place. I'll have to give you the date, but it's been multiple years. GFL has been the contractor, and this increase is a provision allotted in that contract.
Okay.
In the
Because
existing contract.
Right.
It allows them to annually adjust by up to 10% based on the Consumer Price Index. And so it's written into the contract that way. It's just a standard contract provision in the current contract.
Okay, so because my assumption was that, and I didn't remember us getting a new contract or anything, because I know we were out looking. Okay, so this is the same contract.
This is the same contract, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. Whitmore? Ms. Jones?
Yes. For the Consumer Price Index, can you tell me what that number is now and what it was the previous year and the previous year before that? Do you have that information?
Not on hand, but currently right now, I think that's in the packet as well. I think it's currently for this month 6.7. But that index come out monthly.
So it comes out monthly, and they can come back annually to request a increase based on the way the current contract is formulated.
That's correct.
And on average, we're looking at going from what to $14 a month?
$14, that's per unit. That's per the 99 quart container.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Come back to you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Yes, cost of services, cost of doing businesses have increased. And I don't think the 10% is unreasonable. But what I haven't heard, and what I haven't, what has been shared is the resolution to all the issues and concerns that we've had. So can you just provide us an update of where we are with that? We were to be provided some information regarding, complaints or lack thereof, if things are going well. Issues regarding just the overall communications to the constituents. So can you just provide us an update of how operations are going?
Certainly, we will send out a detailed memo to Mayor and Council to more specifically address that question, but I can tell you that over the last 6 months approximately, a new management team was brought into GFL. We have noticed distinct improvement. Their responsiveness has improved significantly. We are fielding far less complaints in our customer service division than we were previously. It is nowhere near perfect, let me be very clear. I dealt with some GFL pickup issues today, but unlike previously, when we do have issues, they respond within an hour, and typically we'll have someone out to address it. We track those issues. I will tell you overall, the work with them has improved, though there's still room for growth there, but there's a distinct improvement over what it was a year ago.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, and I look forward to receiving the detailed information. Thank you.
Ms. Daisy.
Just for clarity, the increase of $14, is that for the citizens or is that for the city?
That's for the city.
The $14 is for the city. What impact will it have on the citizens?
The citizens, that would increase by a normal 95 be $16.51.
$16.51
Yes,
per
can.
per can. And what was it before?
It was $12.22,
Okay.
which bounced out to $14.73. So that increases from now.
Okay, so it was $12.52.
It was $12.22.
$12.22. On May 1st, it will be $16.51 per container.
Right.
Okay.
And we did a little survey also. We got other neighboring cities. Some are paying $18.50. That's the lowest we found. But on the average, now it's $25.50 in most areas.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
And I was actually going to concur with Councilwoman Jones when she talked about the increase. Right now, and the public can't see that, that we had in our slides, where it talked about increase in so many different, from labor costs to machinery and what's happening. I just want to, in full transparency to our public, is that we're being hit with inflationary impact from natural gases all the way until literally every single thing you can think of, where we have to buy them from another agency. We get it because we buy it at bulk. We get a chance to get it lower than the average, but nonetheless, the inflationary cost is actually literally hitting us. I was literally last week, I believe about 3 council meetings ago, I talked about how Georgia Power has actually made it clear. I think they went up 12% every 3 straight years. Ladies and gentlemen, that cost is, we're impacted by that. So is every other city, especially MEAC, thank you, especially every MEAC city, despite the fact that MEAC cities such as ourselves, East Point, Palmetto buy in bulk. Nonetheless, the inflationary impact is still there, and that has to be addressed in the very near future. And so that we're in the same boat as it relates to sewer capacity right now, where a deal that we was in position to buy sewer for almost a third of what it costs us now. We have to buy because of the massive growth in our city. So this is actually a lot. I bring all that up to say that this is something the staff is dealing with on a regular basis. Not just Fairburn staff, every local government. We're just one of the few that's actually talking about it publicly, because we thrive on transparency, and part of that transparency is letting you know that your city council has to make decisions about stuff as simple in this case, the cost of trash pickup. And so again, thank you so much for that clarification. He indicated that, if I understand it right, the average city, when I spoke with the city administrator about it earlier, so it was between 20 and 25. So we're at what now, 16?
It's 16.
And so, and unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, unless our economy does a major turnaround, and I pray that we don't have a major conversation that we have to bring a special call meeting after January 1, with the fight in Washington that would directly impact us in every category. And so again, I'm gonna get off my soapbox with that. But and so again, with that being said, does any other member of council have a question on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries.
The next item is item number 8, is a request from Advanced Disposal doing business as Waste Management for Consumer Price Index CPI rate increase of 10% effective June 1st, 2023.
And Mayor and Council, once again, we specifically are talking about sanitation, which brings forth a request from Advanced Disposal doing business as Waste Management. We also consider and approve the request for CPI increase of 10% effective June the 1st, 2023. The city of Fairburn has been a customer of Advance since February 2006. Now, this is for the commercial solid waste collection and commercial recycling services. Throughout the term of the previous agreements, there were no major issues, and our commercial customers have been satisfied with their services. Although the city agreed to a 4% annual CPI increase, the contract also provides Advanced Disposal the authority to determine the amount of the rate adjustment required to compensate them for additional fully justifiable costs beyond their control, resulting from the CPI increase and other increased costs. The city agreed not to reasonably withhold approval of the request for a given rate increase, but the request for a 10% increase is needed as a result of rising inflationary costs revolving around the 2022 impacts to the sanitation industry. Justifiable costs being maintenance costs are up 29%, fuel costs, and frontline labor, especially with a shrinking driver pool from competition like Amazon, FedEx, and UPS. Staff recommends that the mayor and council please consider and approve the request from Advanced Disposal doing business as Waste Management for the CPI rate increase of 10% effective June the 1st, 2023.
Member Council, you have a request for Advanced Disposal doing business as Waste Management for a Consumer Price Index rate increase of 10% effective June 1, 2023. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. A motion is made and properly seconded. Any questions or comments by council on this portion of it? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Mr. City Manager.
Next, we will have the Finance Director monthly report.
Good evening, Mayor Avery and council members.
Yes, ma'am.
Evening.
In Mr. Stevens' absence, I will be presenting the financial report for the 7th month of fiscal year 2023. The general fund concludes its 7th month of fiscal year 23 operations with $3.6 million in net cash flow. To date, the general fund has generated $19.6 million in revenue and $9.2 million in general fund expenditures. As of April 30th, the city has collected 80% of its year-to-date revenue. The city has expensed 40% of its budget. Property and local option sales tax revenue represents the general fund's primary source of operating resources. Real property represents 54% of the general fund's revenue, while loss represents 18%. Of the $24,182,715 of budgeted general fund revenue, the city has collected $19,544,393 this year to date. Revenue collected during the month of April 2023 total approximately $1,959,171, which increased the general fund's year-to-date total revenue collected to $19,544,393 previously mentioned. To date, the general fund has collected 81% of its $24,182,715 originally budgeted revenue. General fund expenditures year-to-date total approximately $9,208,356, which is 40% of the budgeted $24,182,715 in expenditures. Property tax revenue collected year-to-date total approximately $11,893,970, which is 96% collected of the $12,409,677 billed out. City of Fairburn's Enterprise Fund concludes its 7th month of fiscal year 2023 operations with roughly $900,000 in net cash flow. To date, the Enterprise Fund has generated $11.9 million in revenue and $11 million in expenditures. As of April 30th, 2023, the city has collected 54% of its year-to-date budgeted revenues and expensed 50% of its Enterprise Fund budget. As you can see, the main source of revenue for the Enterprise Fund comes from charges for services, which year-to-date total $11,538,621. Total revenue collected from Enterprise Funds year-to-date represent 54% of the revenue budgeted. Of the $11,563,143 of year-to-date Enterprise Fund revenue collected, $1,821,428 was collected during the April 2023 period. Total expenditures from Enterprise Funds year-to-date represent 52% of the total expenditures budgeted year-to-date. This concludes the city's financial report for the period ending April 30th, 2023. Any questions?
Yes, before I go any further, before we ask members of the council, Mr. City Administrator or Assistant, did either one of you want to comment about the information at all, or you okay with it?
No, we are prepared to answer any questions that
Okay.
council may have.
Does any member of council have any questions regarding the financial report that was given?
Beautiful report.
Okay. Again, and no questions. My only comment, again, I just want to announce publicly, I'm sure you've seen it in this case, our goal is at the end of the second meeting of the month is to go to basically give you a picture of where our city is sitting, literally. Again, in my previous administration, we gave the same report. We only gave it to council in writing. The goal this time was to be totally transparent and just literally make it public so that anybody had any questions regarding any area, whether it be commercial or, in this case, dealing with GFL, anything. In this case, any question can be asked by any resident, and we've been more than glad to get your response. So again, thanks again for that report.
Good job.
Yes, sir.
Next, we will have the city administrator's report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I am honored to present to you our monthly report for the previous month of April 2023. I wanted to highlight a few activities for the previous month, as well as I know each of you have had an opportunity, hopefully, to read the report in its entirety. I wanted to take a moment as I begin to highlight some of the aspects of the report to talk about, or to piggyback on the statement the mayor made earlier about the inflationary costs that are affecting all organizations today. We are very fortunate in that we have a firm financial standing, and we approach fiscal management very conservatively in the city, and so we have a sound overall financial health for the city. With that said, all organizations are dealing with increasing costs and inflationary pressures, and Fairburn is no different. And so we have a number of areas where costs are increasing significantly. Utilities is one of those areas where we will have a conversation coming in the very near future where we'll have to take a look at how best to move forward. That is a key area, but it's across the board in various areas. And most of us who manage household budgets already know that everything costs more, and just like us individually feel that at home, it affects cities as well. And so I just wanted to make those comments so that as we move forward, we will have more opportunity to talk about how best to continue to make sure that the city retains its sound financial footing. There are a lot of good news in this month's report, and I wanted to take a moment to highlight some of those. The I-85 at 74 Sonoria Road Interchange Project currently has 58 parcels. The preliminary parcel count has 50 parcels. GOD has closed on 29 of those parcels with 6 condemnations pending, and so they are moving forward. It's a very deliberate process in acquiring the parcels necessary for that half cloverleaf interchange project, and so know that that is still on GDOT's radar as well as the city's. We had our first Third Friday concert last month with a great kickoff, and yet another one this month for those of you who were able to participate. That event is growing. It is attracting more people. It is bringing more folks to the city of Fairburn. And as I explained to the mayor, I'm going to borrow a phrase that Tom Joyner, who is a radio DJ, often uses, which is those Third Friday concerts are a party with a purpose. It is not just having a good time, which we do, and we want our residents to enjoy that time. But it's also an opportunity to highlight the city of Fairburn, to have people pay attention to the city who maybe weren't previously. And we use that momentum in other areas like economic development when we're talking to businesses. Any number of times I have talked to folks who noticed us because of those opportunities. And so it is a purpose behind our good time at the Third Friday concert series. And I also want to acknowledge economic development, Ms. Abernathy and her team. They do an outstanding job, and supported by all of our other departments as well. Our department heads readily volunteer to help out. And then, of course, I've talked about this previously, but it bears repeating, our staff just does a superlative job the day of the event, from setting it up the day before. I walk in bathrooms, they're clean. Trash cans are emptied. Our employees take pride in what they do, and that doesn't happen everywhere, so I just want to always acknowledge them for doing that. Also last month in April 23, we approved through the City Council the purchase of our Town Square historic clock. We'll be moving forward with the installation of that in the very near future. You approved a cybersecurity enhancement, which was required as part of our general liability insurance renewal at this evening's meeting. We've also completed Know Before security awareness training for all employees in the city of Fairburn. They've all gone through that. I believe all of you have as well. And so that's an important step because we want to make sure we continue to do everything we can to protect the city. Cybersecurity is a rampant issue in all across the country. And so we're doing everything we can to make sure we are protecting the city's data and resources. We've seen a significant increase in our code enforcement cases. That is largely due to our revamp of the Code Enforcement Division. I know that we have some code enforcement ride-alongs coming soon, and we're anxious for you to be able to see that up close and personal. But it is increasing our code enforcement cases because we're being more effective at getting out. There's still room to grow there. We'll talk about some of that through the budget for FY24 to see how we can continue to grow that effort. The old Campbell County Courthouse post-fire asbestos abatement and debris removal has been completed. Post-abatement and debris removal walkthrough with the insurance company has also taken place. We're waiting for further evaluation from our insurance company on what that ultimate settlement will be for that facility, and so more to come on that. And lastly, the temporary fire station apparatus bay installation is in progress on Bohannon Road, and we're looking forward to the completion of that in the near future. With that, I will pause and answer any questions that you may have.
Any members of council? Start with Ms. Jones. Go ahead.
Thank you for the report, Mr. Phillips. A couple questions. One, the Wi-Fi at Duncan Park. Could you tell me what that means exactly? What are the capabilities? Are there limits in terms of the number or I don't know how you measure when you, when the
And
traffic is busy and all of that,
So I don't have those numbers with me. I can certainly work with Mr. Dana Smith and Charles Johnson, our IT manager, to get you specifics. It is installed primarily around the Duncan splash pad and the pool house area. It does not cover the entire park yet.
Okay.
This is the first step in growing it so that ultimately our intention is to expand it so that it will cover all areas of the park. But this first step is around the pool house and the splash pad. And so if you're in that immediate area, you'll have access to the Wi-Fi. I'll get specific numbers for you on what the bandwidth for that Wi-Fi is, but I believe it's installed with the idea that that is a busy facility, and it hosts several hundred folks at a time. And so I'm certain that they have scoped the scope of the capabilities for that Wi-Fi to be able to manage the type of participation that we typically see at the Duncan Park splash pad.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. And then secondly, oh God, what was could you put your report back up? I forgot the second question. Relative to the Old Campbell Courthouse,
Yes, ma'am.
I know we're waiting on a decision from the insurance company about, what the payout would be. But have we had a conversation, or are we planning in the very, very near future to have a conversation about the building, about use of the building, what it can be or what it can't be? Let's just say we were able to find the funds to do a lot of things. Are we ready to do that if those funds were to be presented to us today or tomorrow or in the near future?
So there's a lot packed in that question. What I will tell you, it is a work in progress.
Okay.
Anything that we do, our administration, I know the mayor and myself as the city administrator, Ms. Chris as well, we always advocate for engaging our communities. That facility sits in the middle of a residential neighborhood. I think we have to have a conversation at the appropriate time with the people who will most immediately be impacted with that. Now, I have been in contact with Mr. Lee Walton and several others in that community on a fairly regular basis, keeping them updated as to what the steps in the process have been. But there needs to be a collaborative conversation about what that can be, what it should be. And so that's a conversation that will take place in the future. And of course, it will involve our elected officials and leaders to help us determine what those final decisions will look like. There are a lot of variables there. There's a lot that has to be done as it relates to assessing the actual restoration of the building. This isn't a repair. This is a restoration. It's a very different process. It's a much more costly process. It is guided by some very specific guidelines. We have been contacted by a number of advocacy groups who are advocates for historic facilities. There will be a lot of voices wanting to be in that process. And so there's a significant road ahead. We understand the history of the facility. It is a historic building, and so we're going to be very deliberate about how we move forward and try to be as inclusive as we can. But I will tell you that there are some significant decisions. We don't know, as we have this meeting tonight, what the cost of that will be and how we will go about funding that. As we settle with the insurance company, it will allow us to take some definitive steps as it relates to bringing in additional vendors and companies to begin to actually tell us, what would this cost? What would it take to historically restore this building? That number will drive a lot of other conversations. And so it's kind of a matrix of decisions. One connects to the other. And so there's a lot to come. It is a significant undertaking. And then there are a lot of options that veer off of that about how best to move the future of the Campbell County Courthouse forward. And so we are looking at that now. It is an active conversation at the staff level so that when it's time to engage, when we get some more details, we hope to be able to at least facilitate a conversation with you as leaders and with our community that points to the various things we should consider in determining what's the best path forward.
Okay, so I think I heard you say, or I'm paraphrasing, that the trigger for that conversation is, or are the dollars that we would receive from the insurance company?
Trigger is not the word I would use.
Okay.
I think having a conversation when we don't have those basics in place can be a conversation, but it's one without much gravitas to it. If we don't have any idea what this is going to cost, it's kind of a wish list conversation. And so to some degree, as we move forward, those types of details will drive a more specific dialogue, both with you as leaders and with the community. You know, there are a lot of desires around what folks would like to see there, but we also have to connect those to what the budget realities are,
Right.
what the financial realities are. And what I don't want to do is have a conversation that creates expectations that financially may go beyond what the reality says. And so I wouldn't necessarily say trigger, Councilwoman Portis Jones. I would just say due diligence so that we can have an informed discussion,
Okay. Thank you.
which is another way of saying the same thing. I understand. I see that look.
And if I may add just to that, Ms. Jones, as me and the city administrator talked, about I almost use your word triggers, as we've talked about the concerns and in particular budgetary. The other scenario that will come into a place that's new for me, I just coincidentally, the way things work, literally a year ago, I sat through a 4-hour block of instruction in the downtown over at a procurement workshop dealing with historic property. And let me just, in full transparency, my eyes were just basically wide open. I thought I had seen it all as it relates to any procurement process. I won't go into great detail other than the procurement with historic property is not like bring in the request for proposal that the best people with the best team gets it. There are avenues in the procurement process that now basically you have a lot of, if you're not paying attention, you have a lot of outsiders telling the residents what they have to do with the property because of its historic status. It is so convoluted, I hate to use that term, but it's not a cut and dry process. And so even in the midst of, as you put it, if we had the money, there's still guidelines that you have to follow and you will follow, or it becomes a PR nightmare for you as a result of it looking like you didn't follow the rules of the regulation as it relates to historic property. And it's just, like I said, again, coincidentally, sat through that, a year ago? Go ahead, sir, did you?
The other thing, the reason I didn't say trigger necessarily is, the other thing, Councilwoman Portis Jones, is as we look at this from a staff perspective, we look at it holistically. And the Campbell County Courthouse is a priority project and effort for us. But so is a public safety facility. So is a multipurpose center at Duncan Park. So is the Fairburn Education Campus. And so we have to consider this in context of the entire fiscal responsibility of the city. And so all of these issues connect. And when you start talking about major efforts that could run into the millions of dollars, all of these issues connect. And so that's why I don't want to have a conversation before I feel like we have, I don't see this as being some way off, we intend to be very diligent about it. I do think that once we settle with the insurance company, that's a significant data point in this process, and we'll be able to more deliberately move forward. We understand how much interest there is around the facility, and we want to be sensitive to that. But we also want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to dot every I, cross every T, and do this the right way.
If I may. No, I truly appreciate that, and I am glad that is the case. But, my line of questioning was really because of the insurance payout, whatever that is going to be, right? And so I understand that because, that has its own funding stream, and those dollars will dictate what we do, when we do it, and how we do it. Yes. But I also know that this is, we're not experienced in this as a city. And so, and I think I suggested this before, but if I did not, I'd like to just say it again. I'm asking you to please reach out to the City of Rome who, you know, they redeveloped their downtown with numerous historic buildings and had the historic preservation. And I know they went through some things and challenges, and they learned a lot. And so to the extent that we can learn and, you know, be ahead of the game in order to do that. And then I would also suggest reaching out to City of Dublin as well, who also had numerous historic preservation buildings that they've redone.
Noted, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Heath?
Yes, sir. Did I understand you to say that it was a full clover leaf on 74 at I-80?
No, half.
Half that, okay. That's what I was originally wanting, was the full, but
No, it's
I
half.
knew it, but I didn't know if it had changed or not.
No.
Thank you.
Mr. Whitmore?
Thank you, Mayor. You mentioned a couple of things during your answer to Councilwoman Hattie Portis-Jones, but do you have any immediate future plans to share with us in reference to the fire station on Milam Road? Where are we at with that project? How soon are we gonna get started with that project?
Yeah, that was before council for the architectural design at the last meeting. And I believe Mr. Smith gave an update then, but yes, most certainly. It is our expectation that project moves forward this calendar year. We believe that ground will be breaking before the end of the calendar year. It is on a very distinct process moving forward, so this isn't an if. I'll be very clear about that.
So when?
Right, exactly. So the architectural design, and I don't want to speak too far without Mr. Smith being here, is in process now, the final design of the station. And so it is moving along at a very deliberate pace, and we expect to break ground before the calendar year is out.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
May I have another question triggered by, hold on, Councilman Palin, triggered by Councilman Whitmore, and that is, when we talked about the fire station, and both Councilman Whitmore and myself asked about solar, and I don't recall what the answer was relative to solar panels on that building. And if we have not looked at that or had a discussion about that, I'm suggesting that we do, especially in light of the fact that we've been talking about our grid and our electricity and the delivery of that service and the cost of that service, and the governmental buildings' use of electricity. I think the time is really now for us to really start considering that as an alternative.
I will ensure that Mr. Smith is looking at that through the design process.
All right, fantastic.
And as a point of clarity along the question, Ms. Jones, first I was asking, I had a conversation with another mayor, and we talked about the volume of power we buy. 50% of the city going solar doesn't change our cost. And we made, and that's what the mayor recently brought that to my attention. Because, I won't say what it is. His government in this case is talking about going solar to reduce costs, and he done made it real clear. The solar doesn't reduce the cost of the package that you buy. And I'm not saying that's what you alluded to. I need to make sure we're real clear about that. So our costs, our customer use may go down, but our cost is still the same. And again, I just had that conversation with another MEAC city mayor that wanted to make sure I understood that. So.
Yeah, and I agree with that, Mayor. But I'm also suggesting that in light of our usage as government buildings, right? And how we fund and support our usage. And so we need to do some things in conservation of electricity as well, because it's not just, you know, the residents or our customers. We need to take a holistic approach to all of this at this point.
I did want to mention one additional thing as it relates to solar. We'll be consulting with Mr. Smith on that and do some additional due diligence. It could push back the timeline on the fire station, and it could increase the cost to construct it. But we'll get those options available so that we can have that discussion in full.
Well, I've got some answers for that, so we'll have a discussion.
And in addition to, Mayor, and in addition to my colleague, and in addition to, even with the increased costs, it can be a part of a future build if we can't initially do it. So,
We are open to looking at all of those options. I just wanted to mention that it could impact the timeline and the budget. And if there are answers to mitigate those, then we'll certainly be open.
And I just want to say from a procurement perspective, being that the item went out for request for proposal, if I'm correct, did it not? Did we not?
Not for the construction.
Not for the construction, okay, then that changes the ballgame, okay, gotcha. Okay, any other questions by council? Seeing none, okay, at this point, we'll go to the city council comments. I'll start with Ms. Hattie Porter-Jones.
No comments, Mayor.
Okay. And Mr. James Whitmore?
yeah, just one, Mayor. Spoke to a couple of vendors on Friday, third Friday, and I tell you what, they are extremely happy with the support coming from the residents with whatever they're doing. I mean, between selling food and everything else out there. So spoke to one person that is not a resident of Fairburn, but they already have us on their radar. So every third Friday they're coming out. They're saying the music is great and the atmosphere is wonderful and this family atmosphere. So whatever we're doing, keep doing it. Right.
Okay,
Thank you, Mayor.
thank you, sir. Mr. Palin? Mr. Palin?
Anybody want to hear me say anything? No comment.
Okay. Mr. Heath?
No comment.
And Ms. Linda Davis?
Briefly, I just want to commend our staff with the Third Fridays. I was literally watching our street department, and I mean, a piece of paper couldn't fall on the floor without them being there, immediately picking it up. So I just want to thank our staff because it just seemed like a well-oiled machine. Everybody had their duty, everybody had their post, and it just was, even takedown was amazing. So I just want to let them know that we see, and particularly I see what they're doing, and I appreciate it.
And then I'd just like to close with, in this case, I want to thank the council members from Third Friday. The first two Third Fridays were members from East Point, Palmetto, and South Fulton council members that actually came in and enjoyed the festivities with us. It was a great, in this case, to always constantly share your experiences with the other city governments. I want to also mention, too, you heard the city, in the city manager's report, talked about the priority, in this case, where we had to basically, we lost 1 terabyte of information. That's cybersecurity that we basically had to include and increase, even though despite the increase in cost, because of what the city of Fairburn lost in the information, I'm just gonna call it what it is, 1,300 file cabinets worth of information, 1 terabyte of information that disappeared of our service the first week of January of 2022. And so again, this is a step forward to, in this case, to at least protect this government from both internal and external forces that, in this case, lost critical information. So I just, that's just so important. I can't see how important it is. Again, I want to just, again, continue to encourage our residents, particularly I talked to a lot of seniors at the event. Again, would you please take time to look at City of Fairburn websites as it relates to, we have a lot of senior events. The Department of Recreation Department has senior events out this world, and so I'm employing, I'm literally begging for us to help get the word out with the seniors and tell your neighbors, go look at our website, it's on there, and our goal is we're paying for that. So if we're gonna pay for it, I really would love for you to come and at least partake of it and look at what the city of Fairburn, a lot of staff people are putting a lot of quality time in these programs as well. So, and it's great, it's great building buildings, fixing streets and the whole 9 year code enforcement, but there comes a time also, like for our residents to come together other than Third Fridays and enjoy some of the great activities that our staff is putting together. So that's pretty much concludes my comment. Mr. City Attorney, do we have an executive session? No executive session. Okay, with that being said, members of council, can I entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
Second. Motion is made and properly second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries.